Good day, everyone. You're welcome back to the podcast by LOTUS Bank. If you've missed the last 2 episodes, I'm sure you should go back to it so that you could listen and hear the amazing speakers explain to us some of the basic concepts of non-interest banking. We started off the podcast explaining some basic principles, and we had 2 guests on the podcast. They explained the origin of non-interest banking and how LOTUS Bank is a pioneer in this industry, especially in Nigeria. We went on to speak in the second episode about terminologies about ethical banking. We understood that there were some complexities where people need to understand, and we broke it down in the simplest of forms. Today, we're discussing financing at LOTUS Bank. And with me today on the podcast, we have Mr. Lukman from the Sharia department. Good morning, Mr. Lukman.
Good morning. So thank you for having me on the show.
It's good to have you here, Mr. Lukman. Also, we have Mr. Session from the Risk Management Department. Good morning, Mr. Session.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's good to have you here.
Thank you.
We were explaining some terminologies in our last podcast. We explained non-interest banking, and today we want to understand that LOTUS Bank is out at the heart of business for customers, for businesses. But this financing, how does it go? Because we know that the typical non-interest banking system is not the regular style of other types of banks that we have in the country. So I'm going to go to you, Mr. Session. What are the broad principles and guidelines for financing in Islamic banking? I dey like break am down, so that the average man will understand. Wetin be when they say dynamics? How do you take go about am? Wetin did they allow? What don't you allow in non-interest banking / Islamic banking, Mr. Shahan?
Okay, thank you for the question. So basically, non-interest banking is just like any form of banking. The essence is to drive financial inclusion and to reach out to the unbanked and underbanked. But more importantly, because it has principles, the principles of non-interest banking is that as our policy or as the fundamentals of non-interest banking, we most times fund the underlying asset. So underlying asset means that we do not part with the value, which is cash. What we do is that we fund the underlying asset or service that is required by the customer. And the permissible transactions around this space is because it's a faith-based form of financial inclusion. We will not do things that can hamper or destroy the economy or the world, so to speak. It's about fairness, it's about equity. So we will not support industries that probably support alcohol, gambling, and ammunition for commercial purposes that is not meant to defend the territorial sovereignty of the country. But basically, it's very interesting because for me, it's a way of ensuring that the value reaches the end user, because we will not give cash to a customer that probably wants to fund a project and they can create that room for diversion. You're actually funding the underlying asset that the customer needs, and the customer uses that asset, the useful value, to generate revenue, pay back the bank, maybe if it's in a Jara, in rentals, or a Muraba, based on the agreements between the customer and the bank, and eventually winds down on the transaction. So it's interesting. It's good for projects, and it's good for assets. It's good for services. It's good for partnerships. At the end of the day, it's just to ensure that we add value to the economy as a whole and ensure that our banking services are scalable and can reach out to the need and desires of the Nigerian banking populace.
All right, thank you so much. So I like the part, I know we spoke about it in the last podcast where we explained the ethical banking, and I like the fact that even from when you start the transaction, it already helps you to know that you're going to get your money back. because some people, if you give them money, they'll go and marry second wife. So, but by the time I'm funding, you want to grow your cassava, your cassava farm, and you want to buy processing machines.
Exactly.
So I buy the machines for you. I'm sure you're using it for your cassava processing factory, and that way you're getting returns. The bank is happy with you, and everybody smiles.
And you're adding value to the economy. You're employing people. The value chain is ring fenced end to end.
Fantastic. I could see Mr. Lukman, just nodding his head in agreement with what you were saying. So, Mr. Lukman, I'm going to come over to you. So, which sectors will you find that there are more ethical investments, and where does Lotus Bank play? I want to know, some of the transactions that have been successful around the Islamic bank that has worked, whether it's trade, whether it's government, just expand on that for us.
Okay, so thank you very much for the question. This Islamic banking we are talking about, which is also known as non-interest banking, is an ethical banking. So why we consider it as an ethical banking? So the way it operates is totally different from to the way other commercial banks operate.
Okay.
For example, the prohibition of interest that is not in the transaction of NIB, the uncertainty. So these are the principles my colleagues mentioned earlier. All these things translate to the fairness, justice, and because non-interest banks, or let me just put it Islam believes that whoever that is carrying out a transaction, the fairness and equity, justice must be in that transaction. And the way that we can achieve this is when you comply with the principles of non-interest banking.
Okay, I got that from you, and I just wanted to chip in. Lotus Bank has played in Nigeria.
Yes,
and is currently the major player in the industry.
In the industry, yeah.
So I want to know some of the, whether it's government or businesses, the places that they have played in successfully, to help to grow the business of the country.
Yes, Lotus Bank has contributed a lot to the economic growth of the country. Also, for example, the financing we are doing in the bank, in Lotus Bank, all our finance are backed, are asset backed. Okay. The transactions are asset backed, and the financing part of it are also always connected with the real economy. So that means any transactions or any activities of the bank that is not connected with the real economy, that transaction will not be Sharia compliant. So that's the way we look at it. You understand me? And Lotus Bank has played a greater role in this area. So for example now, customer comes to the bank seeking for finance, and the bank will finance the customer. It's a win-win situation where the customer will benefit from what the bank availed as a facility, and also the bank also will benefit. So because it is a mutual consent, mutual agreement, between the bank and the customer. So this has given a greater achievement for the bank and also for the customer also. We have investment, where the bank invested a lot, to the extent that the investors also keep smiling because what they get from their investment. So that's why I said win-win situation. So all the contracting parties, all the partners of the transactions enjoy and they benefit from the transactions.
I appreciate that. Where you mentioned the real economy.
Yeah.
And for the people that don't understand the real economy, the day-to-day, so that you can break it down in the ways that they will just get. The day-to-day activities that a lot of people have. If you have schools, when you empower schools, you've empowered students and you've empowered the economy with education and productivity in the long run. And when you go down to government, and we have the Sukuk bond that I think Lotus Bank has Lotus Bank contributed a lot. So because most of the Sukuk investors or Sukuk holders, they come to the bank anytime. So the federal government is issuing another batch of Sukuk, and also even the one that is on the secondary market. Okay. So that the people or the customers can, maybe they want to buy, you understand me? So they come to the bank, and bank will facilitate the purchase for the customers. So these are the areas. We have other areas that bank contribute. You understand me? So in the area of maybe even financing other small businesses, so that all these SMEs, so they come to the bank and they get what they want from the bank. All right, I just want to just ride on what you just said now.
Okay.
And speak about like the financing products of Lotus Bank. In terms of like homes, and what are the financing products that Lotus Bank has?
Yes, we have a lot of financing products in the bank. But let me just limit it maybe to the Lotus Homes, Lotus Rights. So like for example, any customer that wants to maybe acquire a vehicle, either new vehicle or old vehicle, can come to the bank. And bank has a product that can use to take care of that. So this Lotus Rights that I'm talking about, like for example, maybe someone that wants to acquire new vehicle, so we buy the new vehicle for the customer, which the customer will now be paying at a later date. So it depends on the agreement. So it could be installment, it could be maybe quarterly. It depends on the mode of payment agreed between the bank and the customers. We also have maybe Lotus Homes for whoever that wants to acquire maybe mortgage. So wants to buy maybe mortgage. So we use this Lotus Homes to finance them. So, and it's very, very simple and it's affordable. You understand me? Because whatever we do, nobody after the conclusion of the transaction, bank cannot say no. So you are going to pay extra, you are going to pay this. There's no processing fee. There is no this, no
hidden charges.
No hidden charges. So whatever is agreed upon. So that's what you will pay.
That's the beauty of ethical banking.
Yes, because the trust is there. So transparency, accountability. So no one can say no. This is not the way we agree upon. Yes.
All right. For everyone that is listening, you should understand that if you're trying to get a home, like me now, I've been saving money since. Now, Lotus Bank has told me that I can buy my house. I'm looking forward to 2024, Mr. Lukman. I hope you present my transaction when I come through. So, Mr. Seshaw, I want to ride on what Lukman said. He spoke about Lotus Homes and some of the amazing products that the bank has. So, want to know, can you give us some steps on how we can access these services from Lotus Bank?
Okay, thank you for the question. Like my colleague rightly said, we have different products across all sectors of the economy. And as an institution, not only do we want to offer products, we also want to offer value. What we do is that we try to dimension and dissect what each customer needs before coming into Lotus Bank, because we need to understand the customer's business and understand the customer as a person. First of all, is the business bankable? And secondly, we also advise customers to know whether their business requires funding or otherwise. Because when you throw money at a customer that does not require funding, you've created a challenge for the customer and you've also created a challenge for the bank. So we work hand-holding the customer as partners to understand what the customer really needs. So which product will suit the customer's line of business, depending on the customer's cash flow, depending on the customer's nature of business, depending on the nature of the economy as it is, we're able to dimension the products that can meet the customer at the point of their needs. This is very critical to have a sustainable and organic banking sector. The reason being that for you to grow your portfolio as a financial institution, you have to be sure that your customers are well placed in terms of financial literacy, financial positioning, and the right type of funding that they need to stimulate and grow their business. That is what we do at Lotus Bank, and we also ensure that we do not lack around these areas. My colleague was speaking around the Sukuk. Our sister company, Lotus Capital, was the first asset management company to unlock a Sukuk bond in this country. It's verifiable anywhere. So the competence, capacity, and the track record is there. And based on the support that we give our customers, depending on the nature of their products, we're able to reach out to them and ensure that value is given to them at the right time. Then also in terms of opening accounts with the bank, we have to understand what the customer wants. So it has to suit the customer's needs, and it also has to be in line with the products that we offer so that there will be a seamless match. Opening accounts as a customer, there are several required documentations that are necessary in line with CBN guidelines and also the risk acceptance criteria of the bank. But what is most important is to understand the customer's business. So we are not just interested in bringing in customers for the fun of it. We're interested in bringing in customers and supporting their businesses through financial advisory and also financial input, because this empowers businesses to know what they want. Clearly, when you want to open an account, you need your means of ID, your KYC documents and other required documents as stipulated by law and also the bank. But most importantly, we should know that, okay, this customer is into this. What will help the customer keep his business sustainable, nimble, and move it to the next level? That is what we as a bank try to input in terms of financial advisory, and also growing the customer's business with our expert advice and funding that can make the customer's business sustainable as he progresses in the economy. Because it's very critical to know that some businesses look unbankable, especially small businesses in Nigeria. They lack, most importantly, structure. Once you're able to put proper structure in place, proper processes in place, it helps businesses unlock capital faster. So not only are you adding value to the bank is also adding value to you, because you've brought yourself on a verifiable platform that can make yourself easily bankable. Once those structures are in place, which we help to provide the customer, it helps the customer scale up fast. Cash flows, financials, statement of affairs, having the right business model, having the right cash flow approach. All these things help businesses to become sustainable and nimble. And we at Lotus Bank ensure that we provide these services so that banks and the customers are on a journey together that is sustainable and will add value to both parties.
Okay, thank you. Just to buttress some points that have been made today by Mr. Lukman and Mr. Session. The bank is here to help you as a customer, you being at the heart of the bank's business. You don't see a baby that starts crawling today and walking tomorrow or running tomorrow. By taking you through those steps, through baby steps, you are sure that at every stage of your business, you are covered by the bank. Thank you, Mr. Session, and thank you, Mr. Lukman.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure being here.
You can reach out to the bank across different touch points, whether it's Facebook, whether it's through the website, or even Instagram. They have different touch points that you can reach out to the bank. And you can reach out to the bank through any of the 42 branches and expanding. That is the beauty of it, and expanding. It's been an amazing session, and I thank everyone that has listened to this podcast. My name is Stanley Honora, popularly known across social media as the Online Banker. See you on the next podcast. Hey, be good, take care. This is the Online Banker.